It's no Photoshop. Greetings, I'm online and I'm on the air, bringing you another art blog because I strongly believe that it's blogging time, so what are we waiting for? Let's get blogging. So what kind of art stuff have I been messing around with lately? Well, lately I've been messing around with Krita. Now Krita is a professional, free, and open source painting program. It is made by artists that want to see affordable art tools for everyone. I like checking out new programs, different programs, seeing what they can do and what kind of features they have, because you might find a feature in one program, like in Krita for example, that another program, like Photoshop, basically lacks. And you can incorporate that into your workflow or your pipeline thingy, whatever you want to call it. It's no Photoshop. Personally, I'm a Photoshop person myself. It's basically like my favorite program. It's the program that I use most frequently, that I always end up defaulting back to. But what if you got up one day and Photoshop just wasn't available? What if it just wasn't supported by anyone and you needed an alternative art program? What would you do? I mean, who could have foreseen that Flash would basically become obsolete as an authoring program? Well, basically, technically speaking, it's not completely gone. Director is gone. Director is gone. Director is gone, and it's not coming back. Nobody knows what Director is. I just dated myself, didn't I? I can't seem to close my mouth. But I didn't want to talk about Flash. I wanted to talk about Krita, because that's why I've been messing around with this past week or so. And what a better way of learning how to use a program than by actually using it for some sort of a project. Well, tutorials do help, but it's not as good as actually doing a project. So yeah, that's what I did, and that's what I've been working on. I used Krita to, well, make this. It was a good learning experience too. You know, if you want to learn how to use Krita or something. And now, check out this. Oh man, this is kind of something like a review, isn't it? Krita is actually a pretty decent painting program in terms of drawing and painting stuff. It's pretty close. It's close. It's pretty close to Photoshop. It's relatively close. I mean, you don't have like Photoshop's brushes, but you do have like a lot of other different kinds of brushes, and like it's pretty close. It's relatively close. It's no Photoshop. Decent. In terms of selecting and transforming things, they're there, like the functions, the features are there. Although it's a little bit clunkier than selecting and transforming things in Photoshop. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just accustomed to working with Photoshop. I don't know. You also have layers, which is great. And what art program would not be complete without layers? I mean, you don't have it in 3D packages. Although I don't recall it being in earlier versions of certain 3D packages, but that's not really relevant because we have layers now, so that's what's really relevant, right guys? Right guys? Right guys? Yeah. Someone out there knows what I'm talking about, hopefully, or I'm just talking to myself. That makes me really sad. What was I gonna say? Layers, you got layers, you have layer styles. Clip Studio doesn't seem to have layer styles, and neither does what was the program called? Paint Tool SI. And I'm not certain what other programs work with layer styles and don't work with layer styles, but you know, Krita has it. And the line smoothing, although I feel like programs like Krita and Paint Tool SI implemented the line smoothing function a bit better than Krita. Like Krita has it, but it's just, I don't know, it's just not the same, and it's just not the same. It's no Photoshop. Now, Krita actually does have some vector tools. I think they, in certain ways, they work better than in Photoshop. Photoshop was always like a raster-based program, so I mean, Photoshop does have some vector tools, but Photoshop's vector tools have always been a bit limited. Where was I going with this? But if you want like concise control of something like let's say the pen, the vector pen tool, like in Photoshop or in Illustrator, I feel like Adobe implemented those tools a bit better than they were implemented in Krita. Like, I feel like I had less control of some of my vectors and my vector lines in Krita than in other applications. It's a bit different from Photoshop, but once you get used to working with it, it's almost like working in Photoshop. Almost, not quite. It's no Photoshop though. It's no Photoshop. One thing about Krita that really eats me is its text function. Personally, I'm not too pleased with it. I find working with it to be kind of clunky. For starters, you can't just click somewhere and start typing. You gotta open a separate text application in Krita, type your text, then apply it. And there's no spell check. Well, what art program does have spell check? Photoshop does. And because there's no spell check, that means I gotta open a Word program, copy and paste, and spell check, and maybe copy and paste back. Like I said, it's clunky. I know what you're thinking. Why don't you just learn how to spell? So if you are new here to the WR Art Blog, make sure to hit the subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like, and until next time, good luck out there. I know it can be rough. It's no Photoshop.